From the grind to the glory, one man's journey proves that heart, hustle, and determination change the game. This is Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., where adversity is met head-on and champions are made. Here's George.
Welcome to Catch as Catch Can. I'm George Tinsley Sr., former professional athlete, entrepreneur, author, and your host. This is a space where we sit down with leaders who face real challenges, learned real lessons, and kept moving forward.
Turning obstacles into opportunity.
Joining me today is John Graham Harper, the founder and CEO of Lumaflex, an award-winning red and near-infrared light therapy company inspired by his own recovery journey. A former competitive athlete, John turned his personal injuries into innovation, creating one of the leading wearable RLT systems. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Really,
this is exciting as I'm reading your the introduction here of this whole business of infrared lighting is, as far as recovery, is something that I'm sure that our audience will be looking forward to hearing from. So what you're doing presently.
right now, I'm actually traveling around Asia to explore distribution partnerships. So we're actually for red light therapy companies, a little bit of boasting here, watch out. So we actually 12 design and innovation awards, more awards than any other red light therapy company in the world. And in terms of a distribution network, we've got more distribution channels open globally than any other red light therapy company in the world. And my focus is portable red light therapy, a device that you can use on the go. It's versatile. You can take it anywhere, anytime, anywhere, wherever it is that if you're like driving somewhere, you're flying somewhere, you're sitting on the bench, during a game, you can use a device then, or if you're, on the way to, watch your son's soccer practice, you can, have it on your back. That was kind of my vision, to have a device that was very easily accessible to any environment, and people can get portable red light therapy treatment anytime, anywhere, regardless of where they are. So yeah, we've got some amazing awards. We've got a large distribution network. I've got, in terms of medical licenses, I'm the only red light therapy company that's portable with a 510K. So we're FDA cleared with a 510K, and we have 3 codes, 3 indications of use. We've got pain management, skin rejuvenation, and actually weight loss. And these 3 codes, I'm the only red light therapy company in the entire world with these 3 codes. So it's quite.
John,
Lots of work.
Yeah. That's congratulations on all of that, those awards and etc. So tell us exactly how this works. What type of injury would this red light therapy work on, and how quickly does it help as far as recovery? Tell us a little bit about that part of it.
About red light therapy, yeah, this is my favorite question in the entire world. So when you have an injury, like say you've got a sore shoulder, bad back, bad neck, you've got a migraine, or even if you're dealing with something like Alzheimer's or cancer, it's all inflammation in the body. It's all categorized as inflammation, and inflammation is sort of the root of all bad things in our lives. It's like we're always constantly fighting in the world now. Like getting older, you're more susceptible to inflammation. Obviously, your cells are aging as you get older. Some people, they have trouble sleeping, they get headaches. Some people have bad moods. It's all just different levels of inflammation. So what inflammation is like, say, for example, if I hurt my shoulder and then my shoulder's sore, it's a signal to your brain, and what your shoulder needs, what your body needs, is energy. It needs energy to be able to repair. And that energy, it needs cellular energy, and it needs an increased blood circulation. That's what the inflammation is calling for. That's the signal it's sending to your brain. And that's exactly what light provides. So when you use particularly red and near infrared, it is that light passes the skin barrier and activates your mitochondria, and it provides you with increased cellular energy, increased blood circulation, and as a result, a reduction in inflammation. So where this all sort of tracks back to, for those listening that really are, intrigued about light therapy, of course, go onto YouTube, type what is light therapy. I guarantee you've never heard about it before. Just like me in the early days when I first started, I was amazed and truly inspired by it. But what it all kind of goes back to is our relationship with the sun, because red and near infrared light is available to us in our natural environment from the sun. It's specific wavelengths of light that is given to us by the sun, and it's in the red and the near infrared spectrum. In the entire light spectrum, those are the nanometers. Those are the wavelengths we're dealing with, and those in those ranges, the light, it has a huge benefit to your body, right? Increased blood circulation, reduction in inflammation, and increased cellular energy. This is where you hear stories of people, these LED masks that they use for beauty that improves collagen in your skin, or you see red light therapy devices for your head where it helps grow your hair. You see red light therapy devices now for so many different outcomes, but the cellular mechanisms are all the same. So you're giving energy to the body so it's not actually the light that's healing you or providing the outcome. The light is giving energy to the cells. The cells do their job, and the cells are the things that heal you, right? So it's not the light that heals you, it's the cells with that energy that heal you, if that makes sense. That's the way it was explained to me by these scientists in the early days when I first started getting my, researching and digging deep into everything. And it really, it like turned a light off in my head. And I was like, wow, it's such a simple biohack. It's the ultimate hack. It's what we all need. We all need energy. Imagine your body is like a phone. And as the phone, the battery depletes, the battery starts to go into energy saving mode. So if as the phone starts to be not as fast, not as efficient, you just need to plug, the phone in. You just need to provide energy to the phone, and then the phone can do whatever it is that you need to. So, many times people ask me, I have a problem, with this condition. My parents have this condition. I have a friend with this condition. And I say, yeah, it doesn't matter what the condition is. Your body still needs energy to address that condition, to address that inflammation. So that's really where, I got really excited about it, years ago, was like, wow, if I'm providing energy to my body, my cells are optimized. If I'm optimizing my cells, I'm a healthy person. Basically, our health is determined by the health of our cells, right? Specifically, the health of our mitochondria, right? The engine of the cell. But yeah, that's kind of the best way I can explain it.
Yeah. Very, 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 very interesting. And we're gonna go on your website here in a second. But tell me, what sport were you involved in, and what injury during that sport kind of led you down this path?
Yeah, this is a really long story, but I'll try to keep it. Condense. Keep it condensed yet powerful. So I started off playing rugby. Rugby's not really like NFL where you collide straight, into somebody and you have the armor and you have the protection to do it. Rugby is a little bit more about sidestepping and tripping the person over and kind of using their weight against them to trip over. And then you can either snatch the ball, you develop a ruck, and then you contest for the ball. And I was very passionate about playing rugby in my younger years, but my body wasn't so passionate. So both my shoulders got dislocated, and my left shoulder was a pretty serious injury. That's like on the field during the game, ambulance shows up, I'm rushed to hospital. I'm like, and I had to do, I think it was around 8 to 9 months of rehab on that shoulder. That was a really, really, really nasty one for me. And I also had a very serious knee injury playing rugby. And I kind of had to pack up rugby. I was like, okay, this isn't working for me. My body's not working for this. And I moved into CrossFit for a little bit. My knee started to become worse, doing CrossFit, because you do these clean and jerk movements. You do these fast, heavy load movements. And I would slam my feet on the ground to create the power to lift the bar. And my knee didn't like that. It just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. And I left CrossFit and I went into amateur boxing. And even to this day, I would still say amateur, I'd say boxing is my first love. Like that's the sport that I still, even though I'm busy, running around everywhere, I still try to follow what's the latest news with boxing. I've got my heroes. I've actually met some of the big pros. I actually had the pleasure of sparring with Tyson Fury, and I sparred with Zhang Zhilei. I met him in Jersey for my birthday, and I was like, hey, let's give it a shot. But boxing, after 4 years of fighting in amateurs, I started to get really severe headaches. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, was the one pushing me to do red light therapy during this time. And she was the one telling me to go get a checkup and to check what was wrong with me. And they found a tumor had developed in my brain, close to my brain on this side. And it was due to impacts. I'm just physically, my genetics, I'm not conditioned for impact sports in any way, shape, or form, which is what I learned later. But the doctor told me you have 11 months to plan this surgery, or the tumor is going to grow into your brain, so it'll be fatal. And also, it'll be difficult for us to use microsurgery to get through and take the tumor out. It'll start to get messy. It'll be difficult to get the full tumor out. So I planned this surgery, and it was a bit of a time when I had a very big change in my life. I kind of had a restructuring, you could say, and kind of looked, maybe I can create impact and do, bigger and better things for the world if I'm more calm, I'm more processed. And that's when I moved into wellness, and I moved into medical, specifically medical manufacturing, and producing light therapy products. And that was, and throughout this whole time as an athlete, trying to achieve my dream of, being a world champion, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was actually the one telling me to use red light therapy. And she bought me this lamp, and it was like a lamp that you would see, just something that you would have by your desk or, your bedside table, but kind of an ugly looking thing with a very large red bulb. And this device is using effervescent light. So using a very large variety of nanometers of light. And it gets very hot. Heat is a key element in this lamp and the treatment. And I've seen this lamp, in my travels around the world for Lumaflex and all the, the times I go and do presentations and that. I've seen it in clinics and wellness centers. I've seen this same lamp. It's quite, it's something that's well recognized as, it's very useful, to have this light therapy. But when, using this lamp, where that sort of aha moment came was my left knee, when my wife told me do 20 minutes every night before bed. It's going to be your protocol to address your knee. Because my knee was actually the thing that kind of crushed me the most in terms of my injuries as an athlete. There were times when I just couldn't walk. I'd have it iced up and raised above my head for like an entire day. Every time I was sitting in a 45-degree angle with my knee, it would start to get very, very painful. And I would carry this like deep heat cream, and I would massage my knee, and try to lubricate the joint and, to get it to function for a long time. So that was really exciting, that after a week of using this lamp on my knee, I didn't have this pain anymore. And I used it for one more week just to sort of be sure. And then I've never used even Lumaflex, even my device. I still don't need it for my knee. Like my knee is completely healed. And it was really at that time, I thought like, I need to get into this and learn about it, because this can be my little hack as a competitive athlete. This can be my little edge. But obviously, as I got into the research and I kind of realized what my calling was, like what the universe was pushing me to do, I was like, I got to build a device, and I got to build a device that is just as powerful as that lamp, but something more versatile, that you can use anywhere, that's an exact size that can fit all joints and areas of the body, and you can carry it in any bag, and you won't forget it. You won't leave it at home. But that's kind of the 8-year story.
So we pull up the website and take a look at the device, and you can kind of walk us through how that might work for those who are novice out here who haven't heard that much about red light. Tell us a little bit about how it works. If, let's say, you said some of the older people or some of the athletes that are out there participating today, how your device works. We got your website up there now.
Yeah, you can see there that that's an ambulance in Poland. They actually use it. It's actually used in ambulances in Poland. We're also fully GSA approved, so I sell to the military as well. One of my best friends, Levi Webb, served in the military as a sniper, got a very severe back injury when a gun fell on his back when he was cleaning it, and used Lumaflex. Got recovery. I've got 3 devices. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Body Pro is kind of the one we're most known for. It's a full kit, comes with a carry bag, and that one's fully waterproof. So that's environment and temperature tested. That is kind of the one that we're kind of known for this. Like people take it in ice baths and they do a stack contrast therapy thing. And, the military use it, some of these extreme, ex-racer, motocross racer guys have taken it, out into the desert. And it's the coolest red light therapy device out there. But then you got the Essential. That's basically exactly the same as the Body Pro, except it's not fully waterproof. It doesn't come with a kit and a spare battery, but that one is sort of the one you'll see in most retail around the world.
Thanks for showing this, for being able to look at this. How many competitors are out there, and what's the certification on this, on the usage of these devices?
So we are a class 2. So we're a medical device, but it's a class 2. So that means you don't need a practitioner to use it on you. You can take it home and use it yourself.
Okay.
And we're the only one with a 510K, which is that's a very, it's something I could really shout, proudly for a while, because it's expensive to get this sort of licensing. It's a lot of clinical research you have to use and everything to support licensing. And in terms of competitors, I think the reason why we're kind of alone and we don't have any competitors now is no one, I believe, is interested in looking at light therapy, this treatment, for pain management, where like in the industry of light therapy or photobiomodulation, which is the medical word, it's more, the interest is more in beauty. So I would still say like 80% of the light therapy market is beauty products. It's very well established. It's very well known, the masks, the wands for your face to support wrinkles, or, to boost collagen, for pimples or whatever. So usually if someone is going into manufacturing, they have a passionate about, light therapy, and they're kind of looking at all the costs of a team, offices, and, all the financing and, doing production runs, holding stock. It's a very big job, right? It's a lot of cost. It's kind of more easy and makes more sense to push into beauty because there's a lot less education that needs to happen. The storytelling that you do with the brand, it's a little bit more, it's well established and known. It's just, you basically have to create a beauty device that's, just a little bit better or a little bit, different than the other ones, and you'll do quite well. Kind of why I see, like, why is no one in pain management? Why is no one in medical, red light therapy devices for pain? It just seems like no one wants to tackle it.
Yeah. So John, you're based out of where?
Miami. In Miami.
Miami. Okay.
Yeah.
You're based out of Miami. And so tell us how this all started back when you first started participating in athletics, and we're talking turning your obstacles into opportunity. How did you tell some of those obstacles that you ran into early on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries, in that brain tumor, all of that, when all of that happened, then I kind of took another path, right? And I wanted to, I've always had the nature of, like the theme of this podcast of turning obstacles into opportunity. I've kind of just had that nature always in me of just like, I don't really have a choice. I have to like, just sort of see how things go and keep pushing forward. That's always sort of been my attitude. But certainly there was a lot of hurdles that came with going in with manufacturing. Like for the Body Pro, this is the device that we launched with. That took 3 years to develop because COVID was a big part of, it definitely put a few breaks on that. But maybe this was also a good thing, right? whenever I reflect back and I look at something that was at the time seemed like a really tough obstacle, I'm actually really grateful for it, because I can see how it kind of maneuvered us, and perhaps that was what we needed, from where we are right now. So I kind of, during, with all of the tribulations, that have happened in my past, I've been able to see the, triumphs, because, it's something that when you've had so many knockdowns and you start to get used to picking yourself back up again, you start to see how it all starts to make sense, and how perhaps like it was a good thing. You learn some lessons, and those lessons now I'm using, today I'm using them, for a deal that I'm trying to get done, or I'm trying to tackle a new market. And I think back and I go, wow, because of that hardship back then, it forced me to learn something. And look, I'm learning it, and I'm practicing what I learned, back then. So I think it's, that brain shift, that, changing the mindset, that was, that it obviously came at a cost, because you definitely do need to go through some very rough times. You need, and every time there's a down, and you hit rock bottom, it only means you can go back up again. And I started to see this pattern in my life of every time I went down, I would climb back up again. And so now, like, we're facing challenges on a daily basis. We're a very large global company, and I just, problem will show up, and I'm not really fazed by it anymore. And that comes with, just understanding, like, it's okay. There's always a way to figure this out. It's not a big deal. What's the worst that can happen? And then sure enough, by a week's time, I've forgotten it, and there's another problem, and you just get used to it, right? And it becomes a normal day.
Yeah. You mentioned your company has grown. Tell us about how many individuals you started out with, and kind of where you're located now across the globe as you're expanding, so that the audience can kind of get a feel for this business.
Yeah, I mean, it always starts with a very small team, and it always starts with, with me doing most of the work. And that's actually how you want it. You want to be able to, do each role, because then when you hire someone to come on, about that role so well, and you can kind of, you can really train them to do it, so you sort of learn every aspect of the business. So very, 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 very small. And now I believe it's like 24, about 24 people in total. And we have a very, very simple model for outside of, the US. It's just distribution. You're a distribution partner. That means that you run a region. If you want exclusivity, there's like an MOQ. And obviously I like to work with my partners. I don't like that sort of corporate style where I'm like, there's the contract, follow the contract, or you're in trouble. I like to work with each partner, and I like to get involved. I'm not really in to, to make a bunch of money and do some big exit, and on the news. I'm really interested in that. I like to grow the treatment, grow the awareness, grow, change people's lives. It becomes addictive. It's part of my personality, and I'm very hot-wired to this. So I like to work with partners and support them. If they have issues, I come in to support. And it's, I guess, and I'm also I'm very good at building relationships. I've, since a young age, I've been traveling around the world, for so many years of my life. And I built these key relationships. And then as, my career, you could say, comes along, everyone knows of what I'm doing. So I was, when I launched Lumaflex, I actually had, I don't want to say it was easy, but when I think back, sure, it was a struggle back then, but compared to the challenges I'm doing now in other areas, it was easy. But it was very easy to open up distribution, all throughout Europe, throughout Asia, even in the Middle East, even in Africa. I've got a distributor in East Africa. So it's just relationships. It's just building relationships. They trust you. I've done a lot of work on the product, and they're like happy to endorse it and push it out.
So, John, are these license agreements, franchises? What are just pure partnerships that you're doing?
Yeah, basically just pure distribution partnerships.
Okay,
That's
tell
how
us
it
how
is. Yeah, we're a manufacturer. So at the end of the day, I'm a medical manufacturer. I work on stock, on volumes, on orders go.
Okay. So you have distributors out there working for you, along with yourself, going out and establishing those relationships. So
Yep.
you
Yeah.
produce product? Okay. Okay. All right. So that's very, very, very interesting. Have you worked with any of the leagues, any professional leagues, or out there in some of this recovery?
In the US is predominantly e-commerce and retail, but
Mhm.
and to be honest, I would say 70% of our business is outside the US.
Mhm.
So Germany, Italy, France, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. Poland's very, very exciting market. Very, very good for us. Czech Republic, that they're really fun. In Spain, actually, Spain is starting next month. Brazil, that's a very big one. The Africa
Mhm.
region, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and then of course Asia. You got Korea. Korea is a great partner. Vietnam's actually got to go to Vietnam next month, and Thailand's another great partner. China, Hong Kong. The distribution network is predominantly where I do most of my business, and retail and e-commerce is the US business. But always, like I know like some teams, I don't have that exact connection with the customer themselves. I have teams that run, our customer service, and then it's all, down to retail. But I know some teams, the strength and conditioning coach of the team buys it to use as a tool in his toolkit to, to support the team. I know like Miami Heat, I think I have even met the Miami Heat strength and conditioning coach. He has one. He's told some of the players to go and buy one. But always open for if anyone's interested in getting, any players want to try it. But where Lumaflex, where I see our relationships mostly is with doctors, with the practitioner, the guy, the person treating the athlete, or giving them advice. That's kind of where our connection point is.
Mhm.
So if athletes come along and they're like, oh, I love your product, I want to try it. So it's wonderful. It's great. Usually they'll just buy it on their own. I wouldn't even know.
So let's bring your website back up and kind of walk us through. You mentioned there's a special that you're running now, an educational end. Can we kind of walk us through this so the audience can see and hear about it?
Yeah. So about 8 months into launching Lumaflex, it's this wonderful product with all these awards, and it wasn't really a full solution because a lot of people had questions about how to use it, or what is light therapy, or can it address this condition or this condition, or, there's so many questions. So to create the full solution, I invested a lot in the education, and my scientist that's on the team, he's our educational director, Peter Forehand. He's the guy there on that page. He basically helped create, a full education course that takes you from zero to hero on light therapy. How do you use Lumaflex to maximize your recovery, to boost your performance, to help you with, whether it be, for brain health or better sleep, or, whatever condition it is. And this full course, that's our Lumaflex Academy. And beginning of this year, I submitted this education content to get accredited, and the accreditation came through. So we're actually accredited with ACE, with NASM, and with the AFAA. And the accredited education means I can give a certification. I can give a Lumaflex recovery specialist education certification. So we run these in-person seminars, and in that in-person seminar, that's where the content, the practical application, the quiz, all of this comes out. And when they pass that 1-day course, then I can give them a certification, with credits. But anybody listening, if you want to just review the education, just to check it out and learn, just hit me up on, probably Instagram is the best, easiest to communicate there. Just say, love the show. I want to learn more about light therapy. And if you give me your email, I'll enroll you in the back end, and you can get lifetime access so you can learn everything. It won't be an actual certification because those are in person, but it's all the same content of the education.
Yeah. And they may refer this to their practitioner, as you mentioned, that may be able to dial into it as well and help them through the process. It certainly sounds very, very interesting. And I'm sure that a lot of, I have some shoulder pain in the gym occasionally, and old age part, a big part of it, but something of this nature I think will help. What about if someone has neuropathy, have some nerve damage or something, would this benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Levi Webb, that with sciatica, right? Yeah, that's where he found that was the condition I was able to service. That was my direct contact, one of my best friends. But something really exciting about light therapy and the clinical research. So red light therapy. So we now, with our 510K, with all our medical licenses, I'm in the transition phase this year with the brand changing the name of red light therapy, taking therapy out and replacing it with medicine. So light medicine is actually what I'm trying to push. That's the message I'm trying to push about what Lumaflex is. It's so tailored and optimized. The output, the irradiance, the exact nanometers that we chose, the app that connects with the pro versions where you introduce pulse frequency. It's all like heavily clinically researched and supported. And what I could do, I actually have a link on the internet where any clinical research, any clinical paper about light therapy, I can actually give this link and you can click it and you will see, you'll see all the clinical research. Now this link, it's very vast. So I think where we're hovering right now in terms of papers, I think it's about 9,600 papers is the amount of research on light therapy for the human condition. So if anyone from a medical background is interested, or never heard about photobiomodulation, again, hit me up on Instagram and I will send you this link and you can dive into the clinical research. It's amazing for brain health to eye health, to oral hygiene, to wound healing, to migraines, to PTSD, to trauma, chronic pain, any kind of pain you can imagine, bone health, anti-aging. It just goes on, and it's all the research is there. You can click the link and actually see where the paper's been published. You can read the abstract. You can see the exact parameters of how the paper was, or the study was run. Which nanometers they were using. Was the device touching skin? Because this is a key thing with light therapy. With Lumaflex, we require you touch skin with the device. Like I'll show you. This is the device I've got. So we say aim at the pain and put it directly on. Do not have a distance between you and the device. So it guarantees the output of power into your body, so no light is wasted and reflected. But all of that is, again, based on the clinical studies of this global database, of how optimized, the different parameters and how we created the device with this exact, size, with this number of LEDs, with the exact wavelengths and everything. It's all based on clinical research.
So real quick, did you mention earlier that this device could be used in dementia or Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Tell us about that real quick.
So brain health, for me personally, is the most exciting area in photobiomodulation that the research is coming out. So brain health. So again, it's the same mechanism. You're just providing energy to the cells. The cells do their job, and and are now reversing degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, even autism. And what you'll see in the research is the devices, again, touching the body, and there's specific wavelengths which are more heavily researched for brain health. And those specific wavelengths are actually featured in the other device, that the white one that is on the website that I didn't mention. And this one has 6 wavelengths of light in one portable device. It's all those wavelengths are all for going different depths into the body. So there's 2 specific wavelengths that are in this device, in the 6. It's the 904 and 1064 nanometers. These ones heavily researched for brain health and help and reversing dementia and all of these brain conditions. And that's sort of where it's these specific wavelengths, the irradiance, the power output, and most importantly is the pulsing, the light actually flashing. It's like it's flashing. I'll show you, because I could hook up to my app, but basically it's like this. It's flashing, but it's flashing very, very fast.
Okay.
So 1 to 100 hertz. So we're like for Alzheimer's, like 40 hertz, flashing the light at 40 hertz is where the research is showing, for light, at flashing at that hertz, at that speed supports with that. Now, another key thing when it comes to the brain is red light therapy. There's different places to position it. So yes, of course, on the forehead, on the top of the, but the key areas now that research is showing is actually aiming the device on your gut, because of your second brain. Your gut is your second brain connected through the vagus nerve. And, there was a study for autism. Autism is quite exciting for us as well, because we're actually in a clinical trial right now in Italy, with this device for autism. And so in this study, they changed the microbiome of these autism patients. And then the autism patients were actually able to speak. So when, I actually had just a discussion not too long ago, with someone who said migraine. A lot of the conditions that we hear, we can service those conditions in our gut. By fixing our gut, we find a lot of relief here. So actually aiming the Lumaflex or aiming light therapy on the gut and the back of the neck, these are key areas for dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, for these, these conditions. And then of course, on the head, in the top of the head, and pulsing at frequencies based on the clinical research. So it's, again, with, we want to go from red light therapy to red light medicine, because I've optimized this device. I've got, all of the certifications, the testing. I've done all the deep dives into the clinical research. I've got a wonderful scientist on my team for education, and I have a wealth of scientists, who are sort of my support, as we create works. So it's really designed to help people, right? To really help with the human condition.
Yeah, well, John, I tell you, it's been great having you on the show and hearing all about red light therapy and all the research and the development that you've done. We wish you all the success in the world, and moving forward. It sounds like you have something really that hasn't really gotten totally out there to everyone, but I'm sure hopefully the show, as people look at the podcast, go on your website and work their way through that, and your contact information will be able to get involved with it, because it really sounds like something that really could be helpful to both athletes and just the regular public community out there. So we appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time.
Sure. We'll make sure that we get all of our social media connected, and we'll continue to push this podcast, and anyone that can connect with you, and you connect with our show as well. So thank you, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been Catch as Catch Can. The game isn't over. Your success story is just getting started. Head to tinsley.speaks.com for exclusive content, resources, and opportunities. Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., a production of Live Stream Editors.